Let's be honest with ourselves for a second. Most of us are doing exactly what we're told to do. We're eating the steak. We're showing up at the gym even when the joints are aching. Yet we still wake up feeling just a little more fragile than a man our age ought to feel. It is incredibly frustrating when you're putting in the hard yards, but your body just isn't paying out the dividends you've earned. Think of it like that classic American pickup sitting out in your driveway. You can pour the highest octane, premium fuel into that tank, but if the fuel lines are choked with decades of rust and grime, that engine is still going to sputter and hesitate when you hit the gas. In my world, I call this cellular deafness. It means your muscle fibers have simply stopped hearing the instructions from your food to rebuild and stay strong. You aren't too old to be powerful. You're just unplugged from the source. I saw a perfect example of a man taking charge of his own legacy right here in our community. One of our viewers at BadKitty1285 shared their daily routine in the comments recently. A solid, common-sense mix of magnesium, potassium, zinc, and Brazil nuts for that critical selenium. They're even skipping the processed calcium pills in favor of real, honest dairy, which is exactly the kind of proactive, no-nonsense mindset we champion here. But here's the kicker. Even with a routine as great as that, if those internal lines are still clogged, you're leaving your full potential on the table. Today, I'm going to show you how 5 simple $1 pantry staples can clear those lines and literally force your body to start building again. We're not just getting through our 60s, we're restoring what's ours. Let's get to work, starting with our first intervention at number 5. Number 5, nutritional yeast, the oxygen intake valve. You've probably walked past this humble yellow canister 1,000 times in the baking aisle without giving it a second thought. But for those of us focused on reclaiming our physical authority, this isn't just a topping, it's a biological intervention. If protein is the raw steel used to forge our engine, I want you to think of this next ingredient as the air that makes the fire burn. In the health world, people call it nooch, but the clinical name is nutritional yeast. Now don't confuse this with the active yeast we use to bake a loaf of bread. This is a deactivated golden flake that brings a savory, nutty, cheesy flavor to the table. But here is why it's a non-negotiable part of our morning. As we move past 60, a quiet change happens in our digestive tract called atrophic gastritis. Our stomach lining thins out, making it incredibly difficult for our systems to pull vitamin B12 from the steaks or poultry we eat. This is where cellular deafness really starts to bite. Without enough B12, our bodies cannot produce the healthy red blood cells needed to carry oxygen to our muscles. Imagine trying to run a heavy-duty engine with a restricted air intake. It doesn't matter how much high-grade fuel you pump into the cylinders, the combustion won't happen, and that engine is going to stall. Nutritional yeast is a B12 powerhouse. By bringing this into our daily routine, we are essentially clearing the intake, ensuring every ounce of protein we eat is actually backed by the oxygen delivery required to turn that nutrition into solid muscle. It's also a complete protein, which is a major win because it delivers the specific amino acids, like lysine, that our aging fibers desperately need to repair themselves. How to integrate this into your daily routine. For breakfast, whisk it right into your scrambled eggs or sprinkle it over a bowl of savory oatmeal. It melts in and creates a rich, satisfying texture. The movie night hack. If you enjoy popcorn, skip the extra butter and salt. Toss your kernels in a little olive oil and a heavy dusting of nutritional yeast. Soups and stews. It's a natural thickener. Stir it into a Sunday chili or a vegetable soup to add body and a massive hit of bioavailable protein. We are essentially making sure our engine can breathe again. But once that oxygen is flowing, we need to make sure the electrical system is grounded and firing in the right order. Let's look at the regulator at number 4. Number 4, pumpkin seeds, the neuromuscular stabilizer. Once we've cleared that air intake, we have to look at the internal wiring. Think of a vintage truck. If the wiring is brittle and the grounding is loose, the lights flicker and the breakers trip. For us, that flickering shows up as a sudden, agonizing leg cramp at 3 a.m., a loss of balance, or that nagging feeling of being wiped out before the day has even started. Most people treat pumpkin seeds as a seasonal afterthought, but for those of us focused on restoration, these seeds are a concentrated dose of the two minerals that keep our internal power grid stable: magnesium and zinc. Think of magnesium as the voltage regulator for your cells. It is responsible for the production of ATP, which is the actual chemical currency our muscles spend to contract and move. Without enough of it, our muscles stay in a state of constant low-level tension. They simply cannot relax to reset, which is why we get those painful Charlie horses or feel stiff just getting out of a chair. Then we have the zinc. In our protocol, zinc acts as the hormonal architect. For us men, maintaining our natural testosterone levels is the line in the sand between holding on to our hard-earned muscle and watching it slowly erode away for energy. Zinc tells the body to stay in build mode rather than burn mode. How to consume this? As men of a certain age, our teeth and our digestive tracts aren't quite as rugged as they used to be. The mechanical breakdown. I highly recommend running a 1/4 cup of raw pumpkin seeds through a coffee grinder for just a few seconds. This creates a fine muscle meal that our stomachs can actually absorb. The daily fortification. Stir that meal into your morning Greek yogurt or applesauce. A gentle toast. If you prefer the crunch, give them a very light toast on the stovetop, but keep the heat low to protect those healthy oils. By adding these seeds, we are grounding our electrical system and stabilizing our hormonal foundation. But even with the power grid stable and the engine breathing, we still need a high-intensity signal to actually start the construction. Let's find the commander for that at number 3. Number 3, cannellini beans, the signal commanders. We've already cleared the air intake and grounded the electrical system. But now we've reached the phase where we need to issue the command. You see, nothing happens in our bodies without a clear, high-intensity signal to start the work. For those of us over 60, our internal ears have become a bit hard of hearing. Think of it like a heavy, rusted iron gate at the back of your property. Years ago, a gentle nudge was enough to swing that gate wide open. Today, that gate is stubborn. A gentle nudge doesn't even make it rattle anymore. This is what we call the high threshold requirement. To get that gate to budge now, you have to put your shoulder into it and give it a real heavy-duty shove. In the world of biology, that heavy-duty shove is an amino acid called leucine. Cannellini beans are one of the most concentrated plant-based sources of leucine on the planet. By flooding our system with this, we are performing a manual override on our aging biology. We are essentially shouting at our muscle cells to wake up and get to work. Without hitting this specific leucine threshold in a single sitting, the protein we eat just sits there. It never gets the order to actually turn into muscle. They also offer precision fuel delivery. Cannellini beans are packed with resistant starch. This acts like a slow-release drip, providing energy to our muscles for hours without the insulin spikes that drive visceral fat. We are essentially feeding the muscle and starving the fat at the exact same time. How to execute this? The creamy power spread. Mash a cup of beans with olive oil, garlic, and lemon. It makes a spread that goes perfectly on a piece of whole grain toast. The soup fortifier. Dump a whole can of rinsed beans into your favorite vegetable or chicken soup. The tuna synergy. Mix them into your tuna salad. You're doubling the protein and adding that critical leucine shout to the fish oils. By adding these beans, we are making sure the gate to muscle growth stays wide open. But even with the command issued, our bodies can still be their own worst enemy. We need a security force to make sure our gains aren't sabotaged from the inside. That brings us to number 2. Number 2. Green lentils, the internal security force. Even with the command issued and the signal loud and clear, there's often a quiet form of sabotage happening under the hood. It doesn't matter how much we shout at our muscles to grow if the construction site is currently on fire. To protect our gains, we need to address something researchers call inflammation aging. For those of us over 60, our bodies can develop a persistent, low-grade inflammation that acts like a slow-moving demolition crew. When this fire is burning, the system refuses to invest in luxury projects like building new muscle. It funnels every resource into just trying to put out the flames. This is where green lentils become our greatest defensive weapon. They work through a fascinating pathway called the gut-muscle axis. Medical science has confirmed a direct communication line between the bacteria in our colon and the strength in our legs. When our gut is unhealthy, it leaks inflammatory compounds into our blood. Green lentils are a premier prebiotic, the specific fuel that our good bacteria need to thrive. When they feast on these fibers, they produce short-chain fatty acids that travel through our blood and act like a peace treaty, shutting down that demolition crew and dousing the fires of inflammation. By calming the system, lentils stop our bodies from attacking our own muscle tissue. How to deploy this? The no-soak advantage. Unlike most dried beans, you don't need to soak green lentils. Simmer them for about 20 minutes until they are tender. The cold salad strategy. Mix them with a simple vinaigrette and parsley. It's a refreshing side dish that provides a constant anti-inflammatory drip to your system. The nooch synergy. Sprinkle that nutritional yeast we discussed earlier over a bowl of warm lentils. It's a complete protein profile that tells your body it is finally safe to start building again. We're securing the environment and making sure our efforts aren't being sabotaged. But as powerful as they are for defense, there is one final food that plays offense like nothing else on Earth. The silver bullet at number 1. Number 1. Canned sardines, the biological hearing aid. We've cleared the air, grounded the power, issued the command, and hired the security. But we're still left with that nagging problem: cellular deafness. To finish our protocol, we need the ultimate tool to restore that communication. Now, I know the smell might take you right back to your grandfather's kitchen, but in our world, we call these the anabolic sensitizers. They are quite literally the hearing aid for your muscle fibers. Our cells stop listening to protein because their membranes, the skin of the cell, have become stiff and rigid over the years. It's like a window that's been painted shut for 20 years. No matter how much we shout at those cells with protein, the message just can't get through. Sardines are the silver bullet here because they are packed with high-intensity omega-3s, specifically EPA and DHA. Think of these oils as biological WD-40. They soak into those stiff cell membranes, making them fluid, supple, and receptive once again. A landmark study from Washington University actually demonstrated that flooding your system with these fish oils can sensitize aging muscles to protein again. It effectively cleans the wax out of your cell's ears, allowing them to finally hear the command to grow. By opening one $1 tin, you're performing a metabolic intervention. Because we eat them whole, we get calcium and vitamin D in the exact ratio nature intended, unclogging the machinery and turning your body back into a muscle-building machine. How to get these into your rotation? The avocado mask. Mash a tin of sardines with half an avocado, lemon juice, and black pepper. It completely neutralizes the fishiness. The Mediterranean toast. Spread that mixture over a piece of toasted sourdough. The pasta secret. Toss them into your red sauce. They provide a rich, salty depth, much like anchovies, that you'll barely recognize as fish. 2 cans a week is all it takes to keep those biological ears sharp and clear. By bringing these 5 pillars together, you're turning a rusting system back into a high-performance machine. We now have the full blueprints for the Vitality Restoration Protocol. By bringing together these 5 humble staples, nutritional yeast, pumpkin seeds, cannellini beans, green lentils, and sardines, you've essentially rebuilt your engine from the inside out. Think about what we've achieved today. We cleared the air intake, grounded the electrical system, issued a high-intensity command to grow, secured the site from internal sabotage, and finally, we put the hearing aid back in so your cells can actually listen. The most important takeaway is this. Muscle loss after 60 isn't just an unavoidable consequence of the calendar. It is a biological response to a lack of clear signals. Today, you've learned how to send those signals back with force. You don't need a $100 tub of chalky powder. You just need to walk into your pantry with a plan. I don't expect you to overhaul your entire life by tomorrow morning. Just pick one. Start with the nooch on your eggs tomorrow, or open a tin of sardines for lunch on Wednesday. Feel the difference in your stability and your energy, and then add the next piece of the puzzle. Our mission here at Vitality After 60 is to ensure that we all maintain our physical authority for as long as humanly possible. We are building a brotherhood of men who refuse to let age dictate their strength. If this clinical breakdown gave you the clarity you've been searching for, please hit the like button and subscribe to join us. I want to hear from you. Which of these 5 $1 staples are you adding to your list first? Drop your age and your choice in the comments. I read every single response. Vitality After 60. Strength doesn't fade with age, it evolves.